So as I was drinking my tea, I just noticed how boring my coasters were and how they just don't fit my aesthetics. They work just fine, but come on, they just look sad. And I know I can make something way better. My name is Randy and I like to do arts and crafts. In today's video, we're going to try and make mug rocks using a punch needle. I know what you're thinking. Randy, you don't need a new crafting addiction. Already have more than you have time for, and it will cost money. Well, let me show you what we're going to use and what it all adds up to. First, we need a base. I have this tight knit cotton fabric. It was €6 by the meter and I got it at the Quantum, but these are leftovers from another project, so it's free. Then we need yarn. These I got at a local store for $1.60 each, and the cream one I got at the Vibra for 99 cents. So that adds up to a little over €12, but as it's already in my stash, it's free. Next up are a pair of scissors, a heat erase ballpoint pen, an embroidery hoop, PVA glue, hot glue, crafting felt, and my light tracing pad. All of these things are already in my crafting supplies, so again, they're free. To make my life a little bit easier, I made this ugly contraption using some wooden cutoffs from my DIY dog crate cover and some wood clamps, so it's free. And finally, of course, we need the punch needle. I got mine at Zeeman and it was only $2.99, and it has a bunch of instructions on the back that are probably going to be quite helpful. So, grand total for this new craft is a whopping $2.99. How I love craft math. So these are my designs. I made them last night after I was scrolling on my phone for inspiration. I already put the colors that I'm using onto these designs on my phone, so you have an idea what we're going to be making. And the size I took was the one from my coaster. But first we need to trace these onto my fabric. And I'm just going to start with this one. And I want my design to be this on the front. So of course we need to flip it. Then turn on my light and get my fabric. And I've got one of those heat erase pens, so if there are any lines visible or I make a mistake, I can just put some heat on it and it will disappear. So I'm just going to start tracing these lines, and I'm just going to do one at a time because I haven't done this before, so I don't want to waste any material. So I think it's better to just start with this one, and if it works then we can make the other ones. So that was quite easy, and as you can see, it's bright enough for me to follow my design. I'm going to put this in my embroidery hoop. So something really strange is happening. I'm not sure if this is going to stay on. It's currently this hot in my room, but can you see the difference? It is so much less bright than it was like 5 minutes ago. So we'll have to see if this is actually gonna work or if we need to use a different kind of pen. But we're just going to move on and get this into our hoop. And I'm using one of these non-slip hoops that has a channel on this side and a little rim on the outside. So you place your ring on the underside, try and get it to be in the center, and you should be able to just slip this on top and tighten it. And from what I've seen on the internet, you need your fabric to be quite tight for this technique. So I'm going to pull on it, see if it wants to tighten up a little bit more. And then I'm going to just get this screw to be as tight as possible without breaking my hoop, because it's one of the cheap ones. Let me hear. I think that's tight enough. It's not completely centered, but I think it's going to be fine. So I'm going to put it in my contraption I made. So first we need to unpack our punch needle. This is the punch needle itself. So as you can see, there's a hole in the needle and it's hollow. And I think these are to thread the needle. Comes with a bunch of instructions in different languages, but I think we'll be able to do this without the instructions. So let's start by putting our dark blue yarn on. And I'm going to use the threading tool. I'm just going to put it all the way through, like so. And through the cap, then put our yarn in between the two middle pieces, and then just pull like so. And then we need to put it through that little hole, so put it through and pull. So now it's all threaded. It needs to flow through the needle easily, so that's why I got this yarn. This is marked as fine, So as you can see, there are numbers here, and you can move it up so the needle is really long, or you can move it down and then the needle gets shorter. And I think I want to go for a 5. I'm just going to lock it in place like this. And now we're ready to start needle punching. So I'm going to put up the design, I think here, to show you what we're going to be doing. And the dark blue is these 2 areas. And I'm just going to start, I think, on this one. And well, I'm just going to go for it. I haven't tried it before, so I'm just going to punch it through. Don't know if you can see it. Okay, let me see if I can switch my focus. Okay, so it should be on manual focus, so hopefully you can see. I'm going to try this again. I'm just going to go poke and pull. And then I'm just going to slowly pull the needle up till it's just outside of the fabric. Move it over a little bit and punch it back in all the way. Pull it out, drag it, putting it in. Okay, so I'm doing something wrong because as you can see, it's not staying in. Now I've got these holes. Let me just close them up a little bit. Maybe it's because my length of the needle is too short. So I'm going to go and lengthen it to a 7. And I don't have any tension on the yarn at the back, so that shouldn't be the issue. I'm going to try it again. Poke it in, pull the end. I think I'm going to put my finger onto the yarn here. So try and keep it in, because what I understand is that in the beginning your fabric isn't really tight. It's just gonna go really slow. It should get easier once you have more of the yarn in the fabric. It should tighten it up. I'm going to follow my outlines first. Like, it shouldn't be this hard, but when you're trying a craft for the first time, there are always going to be things that you need to learn. So what I also learned is that you need to keep the opening of the needle going in the direction you're going. So the big hole on the bottom is pointing that way. So I'm almost at the end. And now I need to go back in this direction. So I can do 2 things. I can turn around my whole work, or I can pivot my needle. So I'm just going to turn it. So the opening now is pointing this way. I know this because the tightening knob is on the other side. I'm going to try and get a different angle for you. So hopefully you can see. I'm gently pulling it out of the fabric till the point comes out. And then I'm just dragging it over the fabric, pushing it back down, going up, dragging, pushing down, turn it. I'm going to go to this side again. So I'm just going to keep going round and round till I fill up this whole space. And then I'm going to do this part. So I finished the second part and now I'm going to finish it off. And you're not going to be able to see a lot, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go underneath and I'm going to try and pull the yarn through the needle. And then I'm just going to cut it on the underside and pull it up like so. And now we can have a sneak peek. Let me turn it over. So this is what it's looking on the underside. So you can see my beginning and my end, and the loops aren't too long. So I think I'm just going to continue with this length and I'll show you once it's time to do the next part. So I finished the piece and I did end up adding a ring on the outside. And I'm not going to show you what the front is going to look like right now because we're going to finish the back first. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour some of my PVA glue onto here and I'm just going to spread it. And I'm going to do some of the glue on the outside as well. I'm just going to use my finger because the glue is going to help the edge from fraying, because right now you can see the edge frays really easily. And I'm just going to let it dry overnight. So I think it's all dry. I think it is. So we can remove the ring. And I think I'm just going to cut around it about 2 fingers. So let's see what we have on the other side. So as you can see, we have a lot of loose threads, so let's get rid of those first. Okay, so this is what it's looking like, and I think I made a little bit of a mistake. As you can see, I made really tiny stitches, and that looks really nice on the back, but in the front, it feels like it's kind of overcrowded. So I've got a couple of things that I think I can do. One is redo this whole piece and put less yarn in. 2 is try and save it by trying to cut down the loops. So instead of a loop on top like so, it will have the loose threads. And that should also make it a little bit less bulky, because I don't know if you can see it, but it is a little bit bumpy. So I'm just going to take my fabric scissors and I'm just going to start cutting. I'm just going to start by taking off the tops, so really a tiny amount, and I'm doing this before I finish the back so I can bend it. So it's several hours later. I'm not joking, it's dark outside. As you can see, there's a lot of fluff. I think it looks a lot better, but I don't think it's worth all the work. I think if I had one of those rug clippers, it would look a lot better and it would be a lot easier. I did keep the center as it was because I thought it could use a little bit more contrast. But I think I'm going to make the second design, make a lot bigger stitches and see how that comes out, and I'll decide if I'm going to make them all this way or the other way. So I'm going to go to bed and start fresh in the morning, and I'll see you in a little bit. So I finished the second one and I did already add the glue to the back. It's still drying, but I'm going to show you how it looks like on the front. So this is what I was going for. It's way more even. We have a couple of little mishaps, but we're going to be fixing that in a little bit. But I think compared to how the other one came out, this is so much better. So let's just fix these little mistakes. Or it's not actually mistakes, it's just when your needle picks up one of the loops that's already there. But as you can see, you won't even notice it. So I'll just be doing the other three and then we'll finish the back together. First we need to cut away the excess fabric. See how nice the edges are? This is because we added the glue. That way the fabric doesn't fray like this. Now I'm going to cut out some triangles using my sharp pointy thing. And I'm going to cut as close as possible to the stitches. But I'm making sure to start the cut at the center of a stitch. That way it won't come loose. So here. And I'm cutting in these triangles so that when I fold the fabric over, it's not going to overlap. While I'm doing this, I'll be heating up my glue gun. So the glue gun is hot, so we can start gluing down the edges. I found it to be a little bit easier to put the glue on the tab. That way you get it all the way to the edges. And there's less risk of burning your fingers. Please be careful. If possible, use one of those silicone finger gloves. And I'm trying to fold the fabric as close as I can to the stitches. That way you won't be able to see it once you flip it over. So let me do this all the way around. Next up is adding the craft felt. And I'm going to put my coaster on top. I'm just going to trace around the edge with my pen. And because my coasters aren't perfectly round, I'm going to add a mark right here. And now I'm just going to cut it out, and I'm going to cut on the inside of the line. Otherwise it would be a little bit too big because we traced around the outside. So I've got my mark here and the other one is here. So I'm just going to line those up. I think that's a perfect fit. The glue I'm using is Uhu glue and I wanted to do this with hot glue first, but I'm not quick enough to do the whole thing before the hot glue sets. So I'm going to be using this one. And this is the little bit less toxic one, but I'm still gonna open a window. And please don't be like me and use a glue spreading tool or a piece of paper or anything. So do as I say, not as I do. Because I'm going to use my finger. I'm going to try and get the glue all the way to the edge. And the reason I'm using my finger is because then I can feel where the glue is going, if that makes any sense. So now I'm just going to line it up again, put it on and press. And I've got this roller, so I'm going to use that to roll it on. And now it's time for my final thoughts and the big reveal. So here's the final set, and I'm really happy how they turned out. They are so cute. Sometimes doing crafting is fun, but it's all about the end result. But in this case, I really enjoyed the crafting itself. And let's be honest, they are so much cuter than this boring old coaster. So for this one, I removed the tops of the loops all the way around except for the sun, and just look at the difference it makes. Like, this is perfect for a coaster because it's flat and it is still really cool, but imagine this but like 10 times bigger, or like a big rug. I think it would look just so cool. I really would recommend you trying it. It's not that expensive, it's really easy, it's fun to do, you don't need a lot of stuff, and I have so many ideas of what I want to do next. But for now, I really enjoyed it. I'm really happy with the results. I'm going to be using them every day. Are you going to try it? Do you want to see me make anything else? Just leave any suggestions down below in the comment section. But for now, I want to thank you for watching and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye everyone!